Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Bionis from Mission Start Podcast, and if you enjoy listening to us not only on the website but also on iTunes, be sure to check us out on Stitcher as well. Stitcher is an iPhone, Android app, also on other smartphones. You can download for free, and also registration is for free too. It's an app that you can listen to any podcast that is on there without ever downloading a file. When you register with Stitcher, be sure to put in promo code Mission Start or Conover or both, and you get to automatically be entered into a $100 prize every month from Stitcher. So be sure to check us out, support us, and we'll support you guys. Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Bionis from Mission Start Podcast, and by the time you hear this episode, it'll be about 2 weeks after Sac Anime hits. Anyways, I'm here with Matthew from the Conventions blog. Matthew? Hello?
Huh? Oh, sorry.
Again, here's Matthew from the California Conventions blog.
Oh, hi. Sorry.
Man, you are just dazing off today. And with me today is Ryan from our website, Mr. Podcast.
How's it going?
And today we are going to talk about Sac Anime that we went to. We went to the last con that we experienced. Now, the convention was moved to downtown Sacramento to the convention center and the Sheraton Hotel, which I didn't know about until I got there. And it combined two buildings to hold the Sac Anime event, in which previous years was at a hotel, and it was at before that it was at a smaller convention center and whatnot. So for a lot of us who've been going, it's been a long time coming to finally be at a convention center, like other big conventions. Now, we were all there for all 3 days, and we experienced a lot of things. Ryan, you and I were talking about this earlier because we were walking around Sac Anime, and we felt that it felt like there weren't as many people there because they're going to Anime LA. But we kind of, figured out that it's not that. It's just that everybody that was at previous Sac Anime is there. It's just that the venue is just big enough to hold everybody in the convention center and the hotel. So, Ryan?
I do have to agree with that. At first, it appears as if the convention was smaller, and I can understand that because you have to realize that, one, it's in a bigger place, the Sacramento Convention Center, and two, it's in two different buildings, so you're actually splitting up the convention in two different groups. So when you are in one of the buildings, you're not realizing, but half of the con is still in the other building, so it does seem like there's less people, but there's not less people. They're just spread out differently. And then you have people, the 10% of people who are not at the con, who are just wandering around for the day, who are just looking for something else to do while they wait for, their panel or their video game contest or whatever to happen. So, I mean, all these different factors really kind of make it appear as if the con is not as big, but, the con was probably not, if not bigger than it normally is, simply because it's in a bigger spot. I can actually kind of go into a different topic, but I don't know if you want me to stop there for now.
Oh, no. I wanted to quickly have Matthew's input on it, but to continue on what you were saying, yeah, it really felt that way, and I was like, especially when I was in the vendors hall, there was actually room to walk. Like previous years at the vendors hall and the previous hotels that we've been to, it's always been packed, like body to body, and you cannot the problem is that you would have to stand for like 5 minutes if you want to get from one end to the other in the vendors hall. But in this instance, the vendors hall I say was equally as big. I wouldn't say Fanime's because Fanime's vendors hall is huge, but it was like at least 1/3 of it or 1/4 of it, and it was really big. It was big enough to hold everybody as far as like walking around buying stuff or checking out things or whatnot without any issue at all. Matthew, what did you think of the kind of the feeling of the attendance of feeling that there's not a lot of people there, but there really is type of deal?
Well, the attendance for the summer 2012 show before the last show at the Woodlake Class Radisson was about 7,700. At closing ceremonies, not counting the Sunday numbers, it was about 75. So I say give or take 80 to 85, 8,500. So basically, what it felt like is you moved the entire the Radisson population over to the convention center and see how it rolls. For some odd reason, it felt like there were like more people there. I think because it was more spread out, and it kind of has that Fanime or AX feel, is that there's more people because it's more spread out. But my personal goal was to see 10,000 at the convention center. I was maybe shooting a little high, but for a first-time convention that's at the convention center, the numbers were good.
Yes, I do agree. I kind of wish that it stays like this so that there'd be no issue walking around the convention or Sheraton. But we all know as time goes on, it's just going to get bigger and bigger to the point where it's going to be exactly like it was at Sac Anime Hotel at the hotels prior. So Ryan, what was the thing you wanted to jump onto when we were talking earlier about the convention?
Oh, I was just gonna go and do the parking, but
oh yeah, go ahead. I got there by bus, which was great. It was actually perfect for me. But do go on. Was parking an issue for you guys, or?
Well, here's the thing. It depends on when you went. Like I went all 3 days, but on Friday when I went later in the day because I had work earlier. So when I got there at around 6:30, what most people don't know is if you park on the street or at least on different areas of the street after 6, there's actually free parking because the 2-hour parking and the tolls and everything, or the tolls, the little meters, the parking meters, yeah, those don't count after 6 o'clock. So if you were to go later in the day, you could save and not have to go to a parking lot. Now on Saturday, I went all day, and I actually did have to go to a parking lot. Luckily, there is a parking lot on 14th and H, I believe it is, where it's only $5 parking.
Yeah, that's the Memorial Parking Garage.
There you go. Yeah, the Memorial Parking Garage. Yes. So for there, I got $5 parking for Saturday, and then on Sunday, I just parked on the street because I wasn't really there for that long. So I just moved my car a couple different spots for a couple hours. So I cheated having to go to a parking garage that day as well. But yeah, that's a new thing for Sac Anime. Is before you never really had to pay for parking when we were at the Radisson. Now that it's at the conference center, since it's in downtown Sacramento, there's a lot of parking requirements for downtown, and that's one of the things that really sucks about that. I know a lot more people were actually carpooling because of that, rather than taking their own cars or whatnot. A lot of people were also walking or taking, like you said, Anthony, the train over there as well, so that they could save and not have to spend money on parking.
Right. Matthew, was parking an issue for you when you reached to Sac Anime?
No, it wasn't for me because I parked at the Sheraton parking, and I got a discounted rate of $12 a day, which is, I think, a good start. Because for anyone staying at a hotel in a way, you kind of were looking for that discounted parking. That's the thing. That's the thing about Fanime, is that Fanime's hotels, they have discounted parking, and that's why a lot of us don't like AX because
Mm-hmm.
AX's parking for the hotels are like 40 a night, and
Wow.
you can't get that changed. Like for sale parking, like 40 a night.
That's crazy.
That's like at the biggest hotels. I'm maybe a little bit over exaggerating,
Mm-hmm.
but but coming from a fanime, a veteran, I knew that parking was gonna be an issue, and people were asking, "Oh, where can I get the cheapest parking? What's relevant towards how far am I going to be from the convention center?" And Sacramento has really good parking options. You just got to be very careful because I was hearing that a couple people's cars were getting broken at that state memorial garage you stayed in.
Mm.
Oh wow.
People cars are getting broken, which is basically it's going to be staple no matter what.
Right, that's true.
But you know, I did some calculations because people were like, "Oh, where should I stay?" And if you were staying at the hotel, you'd spend $12. That's not $24 for the whole weekend. 36 just staying for days there. That's not too bad. That's kind of like anime numbers somewhat.
Mm.
If you're going commuting up, yes, go park on the side or park in the parking garage. Just be very careful.
Right, right.
I just want to say for the record that I parked on, I think it was like the 5th or maybe 6th level, and I did not see any cars. My car was fine. I got there at like 10, 11 in the morning, and then I left at about 4:30ish at night, and there wasn't any broken glass. I'm not saying that it's not, it is quite possible you could still get. I'm just saying, for anyone who's wondering, my car personally did not get vandalized, and I didn't see anyone's car there get vandalized, but I don't know about everyone's situation, so.
Right, I hear you. Now when the convention started, we all started to gather, put our things, in place and ready to explore the convention. The thing that stood out to me, and it's kind of the choosing of which panel is going to get which rooms and who's going to get what. Obviously, the convention center was big enough to hold a lot of these, but they chose the convention center to hold the more important big events like the masquerade and the contest, the special guest panels and whatnot. While the Sheraton was more for the fan panels that were being run, and it was either placed in the panel room on the floor of the Sheraton, or it was placed in one of the hotel rooms or one of the conference hotel rooms they had there. So, in theory, it sounds great. I went to one panel, just like late at night because I was bored, and I went to the zombie panel, and it was when I went in there, it was packed as hell, and like people were sitting down and making room for everybody else. But I was just sitting there, just for a few minutes, just checking out the panel. Everybody was having a great time. It was great. It was very cozy and whatnot, but it was a little packed, and I felt that maybe for maybe that obviously everybody can't have the panel that's in the Sheraton or convention center, but I felt like maybe they should, just because it would make it easier for everybody to come in and sit down, or at least stand and watch. How do you guys feel about how the panel rooms were situated? Matthew, you can go first.
I mean, I was hearing a lot of complaints about the allocation of space
Mm-hmm.
because some people were saying like, how come my Homestuck panel was in that same 50 seat panel room and I got people waiting out the line
Mm-hmm.
when you could have fit a ball joint panel and not get that many people, but you're going to get all these people to the convention center for a 300 seat area for a Homestuck panel. So we're complaining, oh, why does Cafe Hoshi have all this space? But the gaming room was really small, and
Oh yeah.
Cafe Hoshi is not as populated. I'm gonna chalk it up to just this is a learning experience for the convention center and for Sac Anime because if this was the Woodland / the Wood Lake Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
that same hosted panel probably would have been the main event, the bigger one, and that's not even big.
Right, definitely.
But I think as they take a look at these numbers, especially how they're gonna shuffle everything around for the summer show,
Mm-hmm.
because especially in the convention center, it's not gonna be the same. It's not gonna be the same because where they had all of their autographs and their some of their panels, they're not going to be there anymore. They're going to be somewhere else. Actually, they might be up in the second floor. I mean, if you're there for closing ceremonies, they're talking about shuffling space because then Sac Anime is going to be sharing the room. I mean, the room, not the convention center, with the Sacramento Greek Food Festival.
Ah, I see. Yeah.
I'll get to more about that. But I think there's going to be a lot of room allocation, especially when they start doing panels. Because I'm thinking of doing a panel, and I'd like to have that big room panel.
Right, right.
But if I don't need it, I'll be just as fine in a panel room. But for these people who want to hold like the Homestuck panels and the Hatelia's panels of the world, I think Sac Anime is going to start looking and say, all right, you may need more than a 50-seat panel. We may stuck you in the convention center.
Right.
But that's the way to see it. We have a long way to August.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way. Brian, did you go to any panels that you were interested in looking at, or was there anything that stood out to you when you saw people waiting in line for panels?
I don't go to many panels because typically when I did get to the panel, there was a crap load of people in line. Like, some of those panels were huge. There's a lot of people in there, and I definitely heard the same thing about the allocation of room space, or the allocation of space, and moving people from room to room and whatnot. I don't know, like, some of them just seemed more crowded than others. I think it's partially the popularity of whatever anime the panel is doing, and then partially what Matt said, that it is a learning experience, and they have to try to kind of figure out what they're going to do with the rooms given to them. I do agree that, the game room was a little, or at least to me it seemed like it was a little smaller than normal. Could have maybe just been the length of the room rather than the width of the room. I'm not sure. But I don't know. The panels, I can't really say much about the panels because I went to a couple of them and I ended up leaving because there were so many people and the lines were just, like, it wasn't chaotic. I don't want to say it was chaotic, but there was one panel I went to, or I was trying to get to on Friday evening, and it just seemed like the hotel staff, or I'm sorry, the convention staff, when they were trying to get everyone to stand in line, was having a really difficult time because no one wanted to because there were so many people that everyone wanted to talk with their friends, but when they did that, they were just bunching up into big groups. And that was just terrible. So, it also doesn't help the fact that in order to stand in a line, you have a huge line going all the way down the convention center. I'm sure you saw that, where everyone who's waiting for panels had this huge line outside. And I mean, what else are you going to do with those people? Granted, but I don't know. I just figured maybe the lines could have been handled better. The lines in some panels kind of gave me a Fanime line sense from last year's Fanime when they were just absolutely monstrous.
Right.
Aside from that, not much on panels wise.
Okay. I do agree with Matt in that I think Sac Anime was filling this one out and seeing, okay, this doesn't work. Maybe we should put this panel in this room, and maybe, like, if another panel is like this, we should put this in this room. And as far as, like, lines goes, like, no matter what panel you have, like, there's always going to be lines before it starts, or, kind of how it goes. But I think that the panels themselves, I think that when I went to were pretty fun. The Kevin Conroy panel was hilarious. I loved it. And it was great fun. And also the zombie one I went to too. But yeah, I think that Sac Anime is filling this one out, and I think that when summer hits, they'll have like at least a good idea as far as like how to move which panel to which room, and which to allocate the space for everyone.
Oh, no doubt. I'm sure they're going to figure out how to use the space in the most optimal way. They just got to figure out what they're going to do first. And like you said, this definitely is a learning experience, and I think it's a good one too.
For the good, hopefully.
Yeah. Just a final thought on the game room. I want to say that the square footage wise, it's actually bigger than the Radisson. But because it was all in one, it just felt a little bit condensed. It kind of felt like we were back at the Scottish Rite.
Yes. As far as the game room, I definitely agreed. The game room, while the size, it felt like it was bigger than the one in the Madison, but it really wasn't. With the being connected and like having just a ton of people in there at the same time did not help anybody. Tournaments, I mean, I'll give the teabaggers some credit. They did the best they could with the given space and time. And running four tournaments at the same time is not an easy feat, especially if the room is like packed, jam packed. So I hope that the Sac Anime staff realizes that, and it was later on in the night actually too. That on top of that, that in the game room that it was so packed that they had to have the official staff come in and like help out and kick anybody out that wasn't in the tournament. But I think Sac Anime kind of realizes this and again like the panels realize some rooms are going to be more fit for others while some are going to be for not. So yeah. But I was gonna say so. The aside from that, Matthew, did you go to any events as far as like the main big events like Masquerade or anime contests or anything like that?
For myself, even I'm usually not a person that goes to masquerades.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely it's not the case this year because of what I was doing, and I didn't have much time off to spend time with my friends or actually get out to the con.
Mm-hmm.
So, to be at Masquerade, I didn't really go.
Mm.
I've always had this thing about Masquerades where, honestly, from my end of reporting, that I could report more stuff in that same 3 hour time period than me sitting at Masquerade.
Right, right.
And especially we live in the days of YouTube and we live in the days
Mm-hmm.
of social media updates where I can go watch Masquerade the next day on YouTube because someone's gonna put it up on there.
Oh yes, definitely.
So but if there's like these one or two skits that sound really good, because I also think that for me, in terms of Masquerade experience, I think I've been a little bit on the shaft end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just being part of masquerades and watching masquerades, that I've always been in like bad situations, and it's like, oh, I don't want to go to masquerades because a quick story. This was back at Fan Anime '08 when the melancholy of Hara Suzumiya was big,
Mm-hmm.
and the big thing was Hara Yukai.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in an Oron skit about all the way down near towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
The first skit was Hara Yukai based.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 more skits in between our skit and my skit that I was in, that we had Hara Yukai. By the time we were getting to like the third or fourth, people were starting booing.
I think
People started.
I think I was.
Go ahead.
I think I was there for that. I can't remember exactly. But go on. I think I was there for that.
Yeah, people were booing and people started leaving, and it's like we were at the tail end and we had a really good skit. And how are we gonna do our skit to like nobody? And then the final skit was Hara Yukai, and then that's when it just became critical mass. They were starting booing, boo, boo this, boo that.
Yeah.
And then we get to Fanime 2011 when me, Ryan, and Lucas were covering. And it's like, all right, this is the first time we're gonna sit into Masquerade. We left halfway through because it just didn't feel like a Masquerade. It just felt like a glorified like a dance off where we had like you had like characters from like Black Butler doing K-pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this was before Gangnam Style was invented.
Yes, exactly.
So it's like, thank God, because I think Cafe Hoshi did. I heard I was hearing they did a Gangnam Style dance, but I think that was about it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I agree with you to some degree as far as like anime Masquerade wise. I still go to Anime's Masquerade because not only just to cover it, but also like I felt like the masquerades for Panamas have always been hit or miss, but lately they've been pretty good as of late, in my opinion. Last year's was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. But I hear you that in the span of the 3 hours where you could be sitting in a masquerade, you could be covering something else at a convention, whether it be a panel, weird stuff might happen at night, and all that good stuff. So I do hear you. Yeah, I was Yeah, I didn't check out the Masquerade. Saying that, I didn't check the Masquerade at Sac Anime. um, now, as far as now, okay, now this is you can't control this no matter what, but like having the convention center or the SAC Anime, it's always been in the winter and the summer, and it's always they pick the times where it's like the hottest day of the year or the coldest day of the year, and in this case, it was very cold, and I think that more than often than not, people often stayed inside and then went outside, except for the gatherings, which were out in the courtyard.
Well, my gathering that I ran, the Shin Megami, the Persona gathering that I ran, we actually moved ours inside.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 8 p.m. at night. It was like almost freezing.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was yeah. But go on, talk about your gathering. How did it go?
It went really good. I mean, compared to what the ALA gather looks like, which I know I had some of my people that I know there.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of small, but then again, because it's ALA versus Sac Anime,
Mm-hmm.
more people are going to ALA.
Right.
But we had a pretty good time, and hopefully a lot of people that go to ALA will actually come up. And actually, we're going to talk about that later on,
Mm-hmm.
which is what summer's going to be. Because I'll mention that a little later.
Right, definitely. Ryan, when what's funny? It's like I felt like when I first reached the hotel at Sac Anime at the Sheraton, and I kind of looked like I discovered like like part of the convention is in the hotel and part of it's in the convention center. How do you feel that how it was divided between two buildings, and we're so used to having a convention center in one big building and everything being held in that building instead of having two separate buildings full of convention stuff.
Well, wasn't Fanime in two different buildings?
I mean, in terms of Masquerade, yeah,
Yeah.
it was actually over at the Civic Auditorium, but
Mm.
most of the events were either well, actually, technically, maybe in a way, I mean, the convention center, the Marriott, and the Hilton are all connected, so it is kind of, but technically they are in 4 different spots.
Right.
Okay. For some reason, I just remember going to another con where it was like separated by two buildings. I don't remember which con it was though. I don't know. Well, anyway, I guess that's kind of irrelevant now since I can't remember my train of thought. So I think it was all right. I think the fact that both buildings were literally just across the street from each other was just fine. I mean, as long as you have both buildings within the vicinity of each other, there shouldn't be that big of a deal. I mean, if you had like two buildings on opposite, like complete blocks or something of each other, then that might be a huge difference. But I think the way they organized it and the way it was handled was pretty well for what they had.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I know we kind of been like, I know it kind of sounds we've been like negative Nancy's for this entire podcast talking about Sac Anime, but it's not that we feel that Sac Anime is doing anything wrong, even though it kind of is. It's that there are things that we point out, but to kind of have this equal thing going on. Matthew, what were some of the good things that you like about this Sac Anime?
I guess it's the fact that it was a first good run, and probably besides the coupled statue,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was really good. And I was kind of reading a post that Jordan, sorry, I mispronounced your name, but I kind of had posted a kind of a thing where a lot of these conventions they're starting to post like guidelines on cosplay harassment. And there's kind of like, there's this thing from LA Weekly says cosplay is not considered anime conventions attack the problem of harassment.
Right. I saw that post. I was going to read it too.
And I said, hey, we should implement this in the summer 2013 show. And basically, Jordan said that this was like the best crowd he has ever staffed in terms of respectful behavior. And even when something was going on, we were all policing each other instead of having staff come in and be the overlords. So it was really good. compared to what I was hearing, compared to other conventions, you hear a lot of horror stories at other conventions. This con is one of those places where you're not going to hear a horror story. It was really good, especially after the week before there was a New Year's Eve shooting at Old Sacramento. 2 people were shot dead and 3 were injured, and basically, which was I forgot what it was exactly. It was something over a spilled drink or something. But going into that week between that shooting and then actually no, it wasn't even the week. It was like days before. I was kind of afraid that there was going to be more of a stigma over Sac Anime because now you have all these conventioners coming in. Something's going to be repeated like that. No, actually, it was pretty good.
Right.
And Sac Anime was always proud of themselves on being a family-friendly con, and I think it really showed that it'd be a family-friendly con.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's funny you mentioned that. I do remember that the people that I was hanging out with, or I was like seeing walking around the Sheraton and the convention center, were more mature people, older people like us, than there was more of the younger crowd. But don't get me wrong, there was a good number of young kids that were at the convention, but it felt more like a mature crowd where nobody was doing anything, and yeah, like you said, like everybody was policing each other and making sure nobody does anything stupid. So
yeah, and compared to what the stories have been coming on from ALA, Sac Anime seems like the all saintly con that people should go to.
right.
But like I said, we'll get to the summer because I want to say something like that.
Good shit. Ryan, what were some positive things you took away from Sac Anime? Aside from your sneeze.
Well, positive things. There's definitely a lot more room. I'm really happy about that. I cannot tell you how ecstatic I am about more room because the way Sac Anime was going before, it was just so hard. I compare it to trying to get through a horde of zombies. Like, that's how it felt. Like, trying to really get through a horde of zombies, just trying to come at you with a never-ending supply of zombies and whatnot. So it's good to be able to move around. Second, I like the fact that there were more vendors. There were a bunch of new vendors that I hadn't seen, and the vendors hall was just bigger in general. Once again, partially with the room thing again, but like I was happy to see more vendors in there selling different things. There was a vendor who sold contacts, colored contacts. There were a couple more weapon vendors there, I noticed. They had vendors there was a shirt vendor there. I actually liked this guy's shirts. I kind of wanted one, but the one that I was looking at, they didn't have any more of, so I was like, damn. That guy was actually pretty cool. I liked his shirt designs. They had a bunch of stuff. So that was for the vendors hall. Let's see. I thought mostly the video game room and the tournaments went pretty smoothly. They had a little bit of a problem with the Just Dance game, I think, because I think the dancing pad or something broke for a short period. Other than that, I think they handled that well. I like the fact that there was water everywhere.
Yes, I agree.
Water?
Yeah, water everywhere. Like, there was water if you went into the game room. There was water if you went into a panel room. There was water if you went into the hotel. I want to say the lobby, but maybe it wasn't the lobby. Maybe it was... I'm sorry. There was the card game room. Like, all the big activity rooms, there was water in, and that's, like, key. Like, you need to keep your guests hydrated and not, dying of thirst. Now, I know the hotel and conference center had this rule where there was, like, no in or outside drinks, but they were actually really nice about that for the most part. The only time they were really strict about that was inside of the rave. Now, here's a funny story.
Okay.
So I was go like party and everything, and we're gonna have an after party afterwards. So I had this bottle of vodka in my backpack with me. Most of it was gone from the previous night and whatnot, but I still had some in there. So I have that in a water bottle with me, and I go to the rave, and I guess they start searching backpacks for water bottles. So I open my backpack up, and the guy's like, "Oh, you have to get rid of that water bottle." So I'm like, okay, so I chugged the water bottle. He doesn't say anything about the big bottle of vodka I have next to me, just the water. I'm like, well, hey, if you just want me to drink the water, I'll do that.
You know what?
So that was absolutely hilarious. I think the only reason they were doing the water thing was because they were selling water there, and they didn't want anybody cutting into their profits and whatnot. But, as long as they didn't take my vodka away from me, I was good.
Right, I hear you.
In terms of that food policy, I think they're more. I mean, basically what they didn't want people to do is basically buy like a huge pizza and then sit in front of the convention center and start eating it.
Yeah, because it was cold outside.
If you bought Subway, or because a lot of people what they'll do at the convention center, they'll buy food and they'll just sit somewhere and they'll start eating it.
Mm-hmm.
If you had Subway and you went to your room, they were perfectly fine. If you had pizza, you're perfect.
Well, yeah, that's because it's your room.
Yeah, it's your room. But basically, I think they're trying to be stingent on just people that are sitting in, like, especially where the bar is at the Sheraton. There's all those seats.
Yeah.
So if you have people all of a sudden, if you don't force that rule, then you have people buying like a large pizza and then sit in the middle of that area and start eating.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean,
it does cause a multitude of problems.
Like, I can understand that. Yeah.
I do understand that, but if you were to buy a big pizza from them and sit into the middle of the room, I'm sure they would not have a problem with that.
Oh yeah.
But if you took a pizza from somewhere else, then yeah, I do see them having a problem with that. But other people I knew had brought food and some drinks in, and security just talked to them real quickly, and they didn't really make a big deal out of it. But I thought that was really nice and not that they didn't escalate it to an absurd level. I don't know. I just respect the conference center and hotel staff for doing that, for understanding that, not everyone is going to be able to purchase food at their events. So purchasing food in the outer layers of Sacramento where it might be a little bit cheaper, and then being understanding about it when people are eating was really cool. And I have to compliment them on that. That was very good. I've seen from the Radisson where they were not very laxed in that, and they actually told people to leave or at least take the food outside if they were going to do that. And I thought that was a lot nicer of them at the convention center than it was at the Radisson. But then again, different hotels, different policies. So
and also the fact that the city that area is part of the downtown Sacramento coalition.
Oh yeah.
So they have all of these businesses cooperating with each other. Sacramento is cooperating with it because if they're not buying food from them, they're buying food from Tony's from the Subway across the street, which by the way was open on Sunday. Did you know that?
Yeah,
I did not.
Yeah, they're usually closed on Sunday, but they saw the traffic that was coming in. They open on Sunday and they probably made profit. The 7-Eleven across the street was like a godsend.
Man, that was
the 7-Eleven was a godsend.
If you were broke and you were a congoer, that was like your heaven for food.
Oh, not to mention then you had the pizza. There was Upper Crust Pizza, Tony's Deli. You had all of these places that if you weren't buying food from the convention center, you were buying food from the coalition of Sacramento area places.
Oh, yeah.
And it just was like, I forgot, it was a KCR3 report, and they said that this con is going to bring in almost about $1 million of revenue for everyone.
Yes.
From hotels to the convention center to the restaurants and all the people that shop there too. So it kind of seems like Sacramento's getting it, and they're going to do as much as they can to keep this convention in Sacramento, which we'll get to at the summer show.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, not only that, but I just want to touch on the fact that a lot of the businesses prepared for that, and they actually had deals where if you went and ate at their shop, you could get a better price deal.
Yeah, 10%.
Oh, yeah, 10%. Some places had like 15. I think there was a pizza shop around that area. I don't remember what it was called. I think...
Was it Upper Crust?
I don't remember the name of the pizza, but if you had showed your badge, it was like a all-you-can-eat type deal.
It is Upper Crust then. Yeah.
Oh, okay, maybe it was. I don't remember any of the names because I know a couple places were having some crazy deals and stuff. I actually got a nice deal from this smaller little shop. I don't remember what they were called, but it was like this hamburger and sandwich place. It was awesome. I showed them my badge, and they gave me I think they gave me a 10% discount. I don't think it was higher, but yeah, they gave me a nice discount, and it was pretty good too. The hamburger I had was freaking awesome. It was like a mushroom and cheese and all sorts
Oh,
of
I think I know
stuff.
where you went.
Yeah,
Nice.
you gotta walk a little
I've
bit,
been there
but
too.
yeah,
Was it on K Street Mall? Do you remember?
it was on K Street. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Burger Inn. I've been there before.
Ah, yeah, Burger Inn. They had some good stuff there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My guides for when I do the because I have this thing now for the California Convention Spawn. It's called a convention primer, which basically I list every single thing that I can think of when it relates to that convention. So for Sac Anime, I had this really long list of like not only how to get to the convention center by air, by train, by bus, by car, where the banks are, but where to eat. And I listed about maybe like 18 to maybe like 3 dozen places where you could eat, and not to mention like recommended interest places like Jim Denny's, which not in my review because I actually technically did staff. I actually press. I actually staff, but I took out my entire blog to Jim Denny's off the 12th and they loved it. I mean,
Wow.
if you look at the photos of the pancakes. Actually, oh, let me pull it up for you guys real quick while I'm talking. But like Jim Denny's, Rick's Dessert Diner, Old Spaghetti Factory, Squeezin'. People are like walking into like what is a plethora of Sacramento foods, and people are like, wait a minute, there's all this food that people have been missing at the Woodlake Hotel.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't eat anywhere.
Yeah, you couldn't in the Woodlake Hotel. You do have very limited choices, and if you want to eat something outside what they had, you had to go outside of the convention area and then drive like a good mile or two.
Yeah.
To
For Sacramento, you just walk down the street, bam, you got the Subway, you had the 7-Eleven, you had the Upper Crust Pizza, you had a lot of upscale dineries that if you really wanted to blow some money on, you can go to like McCormick and Smith's. I'm like, there's a McCormick's in Sacramento.
Yeah.
It's like $40 seafood right there, next to Sac Anime.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like it was Fanime, if not a little bit more on the cheaper side.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think having Sac Anime in the downtown convention center is really benefiting not only themselves but really helping the major and small businesses around it as far as like food wise, and I think it's a win-win for everybody. And to go on from that, as far as what my positives were from Sac Anime, I like the fact that now I'm not quite sure people may have mixed opinion about this, and I feel that in a sense it feels cool, but in a sense I kind of understand what people are saying. It's like I like the fact that they combine the artist alley with the dealers hall. To where I can say, I can go and buy a figurine, and then I can walk over to an artist, and check their stuff out, all in the same room, instead of having it in two separate rooms like Fanime does or like other conventions. And it felt right. It made things easier for me and everybody else walking around. I like the space, like everybody else says, and the space was great. There was no issues. Like it was big enough conventions for both ends. And it really felt great. The surprising thing I got out of the whole Sac Anime was that the Sheraton Hotel was holding some convention stuff I didn't know about. And the thing that it makes me wonder, and I kind of wish that Sac Anime would go in this route because the Sheraton is so big, and because you got people there all the time, convention goers walking around, or going to a panel, or sitting around and relaxing, chilling. Is I wish that the Sheraton, or at least for the future, Sac Anime would keep that like 24-hour thing going at the Sheraton at the very least, and then have events and panels still go on and people hang out, and because it just felt kind of like Fanime when I was in the Sheraton. But aside from that, I mean, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. And it was easy to get around. It wasn't much of a problem. Um, but yes, I definitely agree with you, Matt. Having the convention center in downtown Sacramento is really benefiting everybody, I think, in my opinion. It's just the things they gotta, figure out in the later conventions, or at least for summer. um, so there was like one or two things I want to touch on before we wrap this up. Ryan, you went to the rave on which days? Friday, Saturday, or both?
I went both days actually.
Okay. I went on Friday and it was fun, but the thing is though is that the problem I had is just the hours.
Yeah.
3 hours for a rave doesn't quite cut it. I mean, you can still make it work, but if you've been a convention goer for a long time and you've been to like the Anime or Anime Expo or other big conventions, raves or dances really, they go on for about up until 1 or 2 a.m. Animes I think up to like 3 or 4, which is insane. And it didn't. I mean, like it could work if you really wanted to work, but I just felt like it should have been longer, in my opinion.
So
And the thing, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Because that's more, I think that's more of a convention center rule. It is also a rule to protect the attendees.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to remember, people are still traveling. It's not like Fanime where you can party at 3, 5 in the morning and have that luxury of walking in the closed area back to your hotel room.
Right. I do agree because like that's kind of how I kind of figured out why the curfew must be the convention center time limit for some.
Yeah.
But Ryan, what are you gonna say?
I also think partially the 3, or I think on Saturday it was like 2.5 hours actually on the rave. I think that was more for the ballroom dancing and whatnot. I think that was to give that a chance to kind of flourish and see who would be more interested in going there, because I think both of them were around the same time, or going on around the same time. The ballroom probably started a little earlier.
Hold on, I can double check on that.
Okay.
Let me check. I believe okay, let me double check, because I remember doing that, or just for a little tad bit.
Yeah,
Which is kind of sad because I wanted to take a look at that, but I was at the rave and I completely forgot about it.
right, definitely.
Let's see. The Starlight Ball, which is their event, was from 9 to midnight.
Okay. And the rave
dance
started at
10:30.
10:30. Okay,
It
so
ran
it
till
did
1.
cross a little bit.
Wait, when did the rave end on Saturday? What you said 1?
9:30. It went from 9:30 to 10 on Saturday. Actually, you know what? It did run fast. It did run a little bit more on Friday. That's weird.
Yeah, it did. It ran longer on Friday than it did on Saturday.
Yeah,
Saturday was really short. Like, I was really surprised. Although I discussed it with a friend of mine, and he had an interesting take on it. For him, he said that it kind of made sense because on Friday, there's not much to do afterwards. So it's better to have a big rave on Friday night, and then Saturday night to have a smaller rave, and then later everyone's able to go and have their little after parties or whatnot, which I actually think if the rave was on longer, more of the after parties wouldn't have gotten shut down, personally.
That's true.
Because more people would have been at the rave rather than being at the parties. But I don't know. I think they need to extend the rave hours, like at least another hour or two. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand, like the first night. Okay, so here's the funny thing. The first night, not a lot of people were. Well, I mean, at first there was a lot of people at the rave, but then, like after an hour to an hour and a half, it started simmering down a bit. And then the later it was, the less people there were there, until there was just kind of a small group of people and the rave closed. Now on Saturday when I went there, it seemed for those couple hours that it was actually going on, there was more people then. And this is the point that my friend was bringing up, was since it's a smaller and less amount of time for the rave on Saturday, more people might be interested in going to that one because it's such a short period of time that the most amount of people want to get in there and experience it, whereas Friday, it lasts for a longer period, so there's more of a chance for people to go and experience it, which is an interesting way of looking at it. I'm not sure if that's exactly how it was planned or not, but I don't know. I think that's an interesting way to look at it, and I do think they need to increase the rave by at least another hour or two.
Yeah,
at least.
wait, guys. What are you guys talking about? It's not a rave. It's called a electronic dance.
Yeah. To those of
Yeah.
us who go to raves, they're called raves.
Yeah.
Well, it's still gonna be called that regardless, but because that's more also a convention center, you can't call it that. You have to call it a
Well, I
electronic
know, but
dance.
I mean,
that's the official term.
It's still
Everyone
the
else
it's still
calls
the
it the rave.
same. Yeah,
it's the same
regardless,
thing.
still the same
We're,
thing.
we're
And
full-
again, I think it's gonna be the allocation of space. We'll see what happens with the electronic dance if they actually do maybe move to a different section and give it more hours.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to wait and see how things go out. So this brings me to the last question for you guys. Sac Anime, if you were to give it a grade from A plus to an F, where would you grade Sac Anime for its first time being at the convention center? Ryan, I'm gonna let you go first on this one.
I am going to give it a 7.5.
So a C plus.
So a C plus.
Okay.
Because I think they didn't do too bad. They actually did well with what they had to use. I think there's some room for improvement, and I think they will improve. So I'm only going to give them a C plus right now. Originally, I was going to give them just a straight C, but I think they deserve a C plus because I don't know. There's a good trade-off for the new locations. So in terms of like things to do, places to eat, entertainment-wise, because you also have the movie theater. If you get bored for a couple hours, you can go right over to the movie theater.
True.
There's a bunch of stuff to do. So even if you don't go to SAC, or even if you're in SAC Anime and you want to go do something else for a little bit, you have that option. Whereas when you were back at the Radisson, there's just the convention. You really aren't going to do anything else, and maybe go to the mall or something for an hour, but. Like, there's just more to do in downtown.
Definitely, I hear you. Matthew, your grade.
I give it an 8 because it was really, really, really good. I mean, there are a lot of questions, a lot of concerns that are gonna never naturally come with coming into a new venue, and I think the more I mean, if anything, I'd like to give this con an incomplete.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Because the big question is going to be, and I was alluding to this whole entire time, is summer 2013. Summer 2013 is going to be the big indicator if this is working or not. Winter 2013 was just kind of like a trial run.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said, ALA was happening on the same weekend as Sac Anime summer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, winter. There's nothing really going on during the summer, and a lot of those people that usually go to these cons are going to come that are usually ALA. They go to Sac Anime in the summer. It is going to be very interesting when we start hitting 10,000 people. How is this con going to handle? What's going to happen in the second year? What's going to happen with room allocation and space? How is all of these business partnerships going to work? How's the fact that we might be doing cross-batch compatibility with the Sacramento Greek Food Festival?
Right, definitely. And
so,
yeah, definitely. Go on, sorry.
So it's basically, I would really like, honestly, I'd love to get this con at INC. Because we need to see what summer happens. When summer happens, because it'll be the second year of Cafe Hoshi being at the convention. It'll be the second time of the electronic dance. It'll be the second time of Starlight Ball. And everyone will have this chance to see what went wrong and what went right, and how we correct, especially the fact that it's going to get bigger and bigger. Not to mention, the one thing that has this con really going is this guest. I mean, it's good enough when you have JYB, Charles Manlett, the voice of Mario, and Nolan North. I mean, if that was just a con in itself, people would be like, "Oh my god, that's an awesome con."
See, I am so jealous that's happening in the summer because I'm going to PAX in the summer instead of Sac Anime. But when I saw the announcement that Nolan North was coming, I was like, "God damn it!"
Nolan North and Charles Mann, the voice of Mario.
Yes.
People are already deciding what they want to do. I mean, and I'm sitting there like, they haven't announced anybody else yet. They had like 14 guests here, and you only announced 4, and it's already like a big 4.
Yes, I have to give Sac Anime credit. They somehow do it, but they somehow pull in the big name voice actors and quote unquote stars to come to Sac Anime and have fans interact with and go to panels. So I give them props for pulling that off consistently too. And was there anything else you want to add on, Matthew, or was that your?
No, all I can say is that I get this con an INC. I can't give it a grade. I mean, we'll have to wait till summer and maybe even maybe winter 2014 to see. Because you also got to remember, it's also how does the city of Sacramento and the Sacramento City Downtown Coalition, how does they react to Sac Anime? How do they help? Because there are like certain perks that each convention that goes there gets. Like, for example, if you book a certain amount of rooms, the city of Sacramento will throw you like a part of the convention center for free
Yeah.
to expand your programming. So what I mean, this is really good, and it's kind of a building point. And I remember there's all that weekend they were like, I mean, the fact that it brought attention to the major news networks out there.
Oh yes.
I think I mean I saw I mean
there was a bunch that came out. Like I know News 10 came out.
10, 13, 40, 3,
Mhm.
3
Yes.
had an interview. They actually had an interview with Surfbox. It was really funny.
That's awesome.
So, and you know, it was on the B. It was on front page of the ticket.
Yeah.
There was a section of it that I had clipped out from Sunday in the region section.
Mhm.
So this con is growing, and I was doing there is a list that just came out of the top 10 most visited anime conventions of 2012.
Mhm.
And according, you know, AX is number 1, Fanime was number 8, but I believe the last numbers for the last like the bottom end of the convention
Mhm.
was like let me double check. I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay.
12,000 people.
Wow.
Sac Anime is about what, 8? I want to say 8,500. We're not that far off where we can be. Initially, Sac Anime could be a nationally recognized convention because how big it's becoming. And
Mhm.
compared to other conventions in the area or in the region, this con wants to grow. This con wants to be big. This con wants to become Fanime.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
this could be like the opposite of Fanime, where because Fanime had 21,000 attendees,
Mhm.
you can fit 21,000 easily in that convention center,
Mhm.
and it's gonna happen.
Mhm.
But but all of us within the press community, in the staffing community, in the city of Sacramento, we all need to jump on this and say,
Mhm.
you know what, we're gonna help Sac Anime grow, and we can get all of these people. Then yes.
Yeah. It's been a long time coming for a lot of us have been going to Sac Anime for so long, and with the debut of Downtown Sacramento Convention Center,